Alrighty, welcome back. It's DP FiFi's power rankings for teams and kind of a general recap for rankings. It's been about 10 days since we last did this. I just got back from vacation, so there is a lot to go through. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, but I expect there to be quite a bit of movement on here. Um, and I'm going to try to catch every game that I think I didn't go over or did go over. But yeah, I went skiing. It was a great time. I only fell once, so uh, it was just like riding a bike. Had a great time. Let's see where I left off. I'm not sure if I did this OBS versus dropping point game. I feel like I didn't because DPK is still in the favorites running. Uh, so let's just go over this quickly, just in case I did. But yeah, this was a pretty shocking result. I think a lot of people expected this game to be a bit closer or the opposite way around. Obviously, OVS has made some very good improvements to their roster lately, adding um, Zera to the jungle, and the bot lane is now starting to pop off, as you can tell in this game. And Nyx and Kappa obviously are two laners that can always be relied upon when needed. They do their jobs. Uh, but yeah, so in this one, this is game one. We do have the links here. I'm just gonna kind of go faster to this because we have a lot to do. But volley into Mundo. I mean, I guess like let's actually just pull up the draft wall. This might be make actually more sense to go through faster. It's DPK. Uh, Pretty standard bands here. Nyx is a big Acel one trick. Zara is a big uh, Gwen one trick, and Zell has a good Thresh. So getting rid of mostly just the one tricks, comfort champs. And then the side of OVS, we get rid of the Amumu, Set, and Caitlyn. Something Lurka plays a lot is Caitlyn. Jimmy is a lot on Amumu, and also the Set top lane for Ace is one of his power picks. So everything makes sense so far here, draft wise for both teams. I think this was a somewhat contested pick, the Syndra. I think Nyx does play Syndra. Syndra's decently blindable champ. So I did like the approach that we had here. Just take the Syndra first. It's good on Spartan. He can proves he can play um, a lot of different into a lot of different champions. So our response was the Victor, and then we had Seraphine. So we blinded support here. Not bad. I mean, Seraphine's always blindable. I always like when you can either flex the Seraphine to mid lane or the ADC role, which could be happening here, technically, but this was probably always going support the way it was kind of just drafted here. Um, Nonetheless, two good champs. Then we respond with Jin Lux. Not terrible blinds here at all. You're a bit uh, you're a bit of a pick burst comp at the moment, which does go well into what they've currently drafted in the Victor Seraphine, and then obviously you're gonna have another ADC squishy champion, and that comes in the form of the Smolder. So definitely, like if anyone lands any ability, either all three of those champions just die pretty much. Um, so not bad. We respond with Smolder. I think that lane gets punished a little bit heavily if I had to guess, Jin and Lux kind of bullying out the Seraphine Smolder lane, but it doesn't look like that really happened. Let's see. Yeah, it didn't really happen like that. The Smolder looked like it scaled for free. Lurka didn't have the greatest showing along with the bot lane, so very curious to see how this lane actually went. I think this was a streamed game, but yeah, and then we have the J4 coming in. It's good with Victor. It's good with pretty much all these. Is like a good wombo. Provides some more frontline. The volley bear is an answer. Right, the Nocturne. you're kind of just committing to that pick comp. So I overall I like DPK's direction that they have here. Like it all kind of makes sense. The volley is a good blind. It's also one of Ace's stronger comfort picks. So I do like the theme that DPK had here going. And then I do like the R5 Dr. Mundo. I don't know exactly how the Volibear Mundo lane goes, but I imagine it's not that bad for Mundo. Um, Mostly because Volley can't lock him down all in one combo like you would with a regular champ just because of the spell shield, and Mundo can farm very safely. Obviously, Volley gets Prio in this lane, can probably proxy a bit, baby ticks on plates. It's going to be hard for Mundo to really be able to kill the Volley over time. But it also is pretty hard for, I think, Volley to kill Mundo in this lane. So at the end of the day, I think Mundo gets a pretty safe space to get online. And when Mundo is online, there's not really a lot of consistent form of DPS that the Knights have here that can really take care of Mundo. So I do really like this R5 Mundo pick. Been seeing that quite a bit along in the league. And yeah, as you can kind of expect, Kappa doing a lot in this one. The ball lane had the win here. If you are on the side of TPK, you guys kind of had to run over this Smolder Seraphine lane. Did not appear to be the case. Mid lane looked pretty even. And then Zero was able to get going on this J4. The Nocturne not efficient in the slightest. So that was game one. Now, game two, we won't really talk about this game much because uh, Lurka just kind of ran it down. And like we just kind of know that this bot lane ran over their bot lane, and that's pretty much how this happened, which is shocking. Like I guess you could tell you could kind of see fragments of it in the first game. Like this should never happen. This scaling lane versus the pretty two lane dominant champs in the Jade Lux pairing well together. They even try to get something that pairs well together. The Lucian Nami is supposed to be lane dominant and be aggressive, but Ash and Thresh just buried them. Um, so yeah, not a great look for DPK's bot lane at the end of the day in this one, and it didn't look like Jimmy did much in this series either. I don't know if he's playing towards top or bot. I didn't watch too much of the series. Spartan though and Ace looks like they did their thing for the first two games. Can't really fault them. Um, I know Ace or Yone's pretty good into Scion. Sejuani into Lilia. Lilia is pretty good into Sedge. The Mel Syndra lane is kind of meh. But yeah, this is a story of DPK getting walked on in their game two here. And OBS will take this to 0. I don't even need to look at the other one. I think this is pretty damning to me. I think this is a lot of concern. I thought Lurko was going to be one of their stronger players. He is one of their plat players technically too, but I know their support has some weaknesses and stuff to his game, and if them two can't get going together, DPK is just not going to be able to compete against better teams with better bot lanes. Um, I won't overreact too much because it is only one series, and obviously OBS is pretty solid, so I will just put them down in the contender tier towards the end. I could probably put put them at the top of good after that, but um, with that being said, I think last time we were here, I kind of was pretty harsh on OBS just because of the roster changes and everything like that, and how it didn't really work out. Well, they upgraded with Zera, and it looks like their bot lane performed a lot better in this one. So I might be eating my words a little bit there. I am going to move them up to about here, back up. They were pretty high before. I think I did overreact slightly to their uh, downgrade before. I think they're gonna get more on track now with more of a consistent roster after just the one bad week against obviously a really good Coach's Tyranny team. So can't really fault them too much there. But yeah, that is the first match that we're gonna look at, and that is from week two, I believe. I'm gonna kind of look at everything that was played after 320 or not. But so this game looks like to be our second one. So it's White Lotus Wisteria taking down Colorado Kick Killers 2-1. Kind of expected this to be the case. Kick Killers have been not really playing well and not really drafting well together. And a lot of their issues have been happening from bot lane. Has not been kind to them through the first couple weeks here. But they do play in the East and they have a series win. So they're actually still practically, yeah, in a pretty good. They have two wins, but yeah, they're in a pretty good spot here. Still, nonetheless. So this is their second loss, I think. So how did their? So I remember week one they beat Forge, pretty good. Uh, Lost our rivals 2-1. They are a tough team, but like it's they playing an entire 3 game series where they just don't make mistakes in draft or do something dumb in game or tilt is a lot to ask for against this team. And then yeah, they lost to Wisteria here. Uh, so what is their fourth game here? Looks like they beat Black Rose. Okay, we'll get to that one later on then. So let's move along here. First game was a CKK dub, and it looks like they left this brand up, and the brand was pretty punishing one of PP So Small's better champions. I think I covered this last time they played in a 3 game set. Uh, Still kind of rocking the same hypercarry bot lane. Not really any too many tanks or anything like that. Uh, yeah, it looks okay. I think Jinx scales pretty for free here in the bot lane. I don't think Maokai and Tristana can really do much about um, that Jinx lane, like with especially with Milio being there, and they played it pretty well. It looks like Oriana Ari's kind of a washed up lane, and then the Olaf is a classic Mordekaiser counter pick, and looks like Dubs played that lane pretty well. So yeah, the Nocturne somewhat effective for Soren here. It looks like they had some moments here. I do like that they paired up the Oriana and the Nocturne. You also have another ball delivery with Maokai that's pretty good. So not a bad draft, I would say, from what I can see. Obviously, I can't see the whole draft lol. Uh, but it's yeah, not. I don't think they just didn't execute really in this one or get the picks that they really needed. We'll see where this series kind of went wrong for CKK though, because they do lose these next 2 games. So Dubs is on the Mordekaiser this time around, and it looks like he lost the Orn lane, which, if you're playing Mordekaiser, cannot happen. Um, Pretty Mordekaiser favored in that lane. Yeah, looks like mid lane didn't really do much for Grandma with a gun, and their bot lane got ran over by Ophelia Seraphine. They played something even more greedy on the side of Wisteria here. And in 37 minutes, yeah, I'll take the Aphelios and Seraphine side over the Jinx and the Milio bot lane. Also, it just scales and feels better with all items completed and everything like that. These drafts aren't bad though, from what I've seen so far from CKK. Though this looks more like an execution error. Like Dubs should be much stronger, have a lot more impact in this game. Like that just did not happen on the Mordekaiser. Grandma with the gun, kind of the second game in a row. It's very small impact for the team. Really wasn't getting much going in the way of KP or playmaking. Looks like he's just kind of farming it out and not doing a ton to really help out here. And then yeah, PP So Small did not get going quite like he did in the game one. So it looks like they got out executed here. But yeah, you can't lose that lane. There's probably a story of top diff in this second game. So the Mordekaiser in both games has been the team that has lost, interestingly enough. And then yeah, we have it looks like a complete just kind of meltdown by CKK here in the third game where every lane appears to have lost for free. The Trundle and Mundo lane should favor Trundle, which is another kind of concerning thing that like why are we losing in these counter matchups? I don't get it. But because like Dub's got three really good matchups. Um, Wisteria put their top laner on three counter picks or three things that get countered in the lane. So they had the old obviously he had the Olaf. Didn't even really do like that much in this game with the Olaf, what you would expect with the counter pick. Also lost his Ornn lane pretty handedly. It looks like a lot of top diff in this game, a lot of top and mid, and then yeah, a complete just meltdown in game three of you know jungle and bot lane doing relatively decently in the first two games, but now they just everyone just breaks down in this third game, and this could attribute to a lot of tilt. Um, like Snake Op going 0 and 10 in a Seraphine Silver lane is quite concerning, I should say. Chalked this up to a bad game, but yeah, like Dub's losing as well up there. Like you're on the Victor now too, Grandma with a gun. The Vi looks like it just ran it down. Nothing really to do there. And yeah, Wisteria walks away with this one pretty handedly. It looks like they could have honestly 2-0'd them if it wasn't for this first game. I don't know what really happened in this first game, but two-handedly easy victories afterwards. So the way to keep their cool. So Wisteria hasn't really played like a ton of games from the last time I believe I checked. Let's see. Yeah, so that's their fourth. That was like their third series, I think, that they've played. There's another one we'll cover later on in this video, but didn't really know like a ton about them, so they were kind of on my playoff bubble at the end. I think after seeing like a good dominant series like that and taking down one of the so on so-called better teams of the East, which is kind of sad to say that it is Keg Killers at the end of the day. They are a scrappy team, obviously can make anything happen. That's kind of the strength of their team is just the scrappiness and unexpectedness that is Keg Killers, and they're not bad players, and they've obviously played with each other for a long time as well. So there's a lot of synergy. So not a team that to be taken lightly all the time, but Wisteria looks like they're going to be just about a lock for playoffs, just based off of how the first third of the season has really shifted. Definitely, I would say better than at least those two teams is where I'll put them right here. We'll probably re-rank them when we get to their second matchup, but right now I think if I like split these up, I would have put them right here for now. Obviously, I think they win their next matchup, so we'll see who that was against and everything, and we'll see where they go. CKK, I'm gonna put them just right behind White Lotus here because they do have some wins here. They are 2-2, but and they did bring this to a three-game series. So every time I think K Killers have played only three-game series all season long. Yeah, they have four. Yeah, they have 12 overall games, and they've only played in four series. Yep, they keep it scrappy. Like they'll put in at least one good game a series, uh, which I mean is gonna keep them in playoff contention for a very long time, considering there's four teams in the East that haven't even won yet. So, and then two teams you're still above because they've only won once. um, so there's a lot of hope for them to, at least make the playoffs. But I don't think they're that great of a team. Just kind of the middle of the pack in the East. If they were in the West or more of our balance, like if we balance out the divisions a little bit more, they would be, I think, a lower half team, unfortunately. So we will put them right behind White Lotus Wisteria for now, and we will move on to the next matchup here. Looks like it's going to be a lot of week 4 games. Let's see. Okay. So first one we have Rat Tactics and White Lotus Blackthorn. Obviously, I think everyone expected Rat Tactics to really kind of walk away with this game, and yeah, this one doesn't really need a ton of review. I think everyone kind of expected this, even with the continuing rotation of Blackthorn. They've had a lot of sub problems. They've changed orgs. The team hasn't had much stability. Um, so far, I think they're going to be a team that kind of gets better down the line. And then you're facing one of the better teams in the league in Rat Tactics. This is unfortunately not something that like they just weren't going to win this series, and it was just going to be ugly. I don't think they ever had a chance in this one, unfortunately. But yeah, Cheesecake looked like the only one who. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even think. Like, I think everyone just kind of, yeah, nothing really here to evaluate. Zelmac had a great series. It looks like Pazansky is always playing really well. Yeah, hard to evaluate this. And I don't think, truly don't think bans or anything mattered in this series. I think they could play with their best, and I think this would still be about the same. I don't really see anything like super wrong with their composition either. I think Syndra Jinx is really good together, and obviously have Kench to keep both of those guys safe. Easy to get a Jinx reset in this comp, so, and with a Mordekaiser. Um, but yeah, the Gwen matchup into Cassante losing that badly is concerning. Uh, yeah, I'm not a super fan of this second draft, but I think it's not that bad. I think they I think it's just an execution diff mostly here. Yeah, we're just gonna move on. Good one for Rat Tactics there, and shouldn't need to really mess with anything here. Rat Tactics just taking care of business. This was expected, um, so they're gonna stay right where they are. And Black Thorn, I think, is that's Black Rose, and that should be Black Thorn. Uh, Wait, okay, yeah, we do have all the White Lotus teams here. Yeah, they're gonna stay right there. They do have a win over Bra, I believe, so it is pretty accurate. I'm gonna keep them right there in their rankings. Next, we'll go to JRGC versus Korean Rejects, and we do have the draft rules available for this series. Um, it was a 2-0 for JRGC, pretty convincing game one victory, and a closer game two from KR. I do remember in this series, Fishing for Honor played really well in both games. Kind of kept them afloat. Swag made some decent impact in the second game, but it was a story of how kind of their bot lane getting run over in both the games. Hardstuck and Dolo really showed out in this one, and obviously Grayson played extremely well as always. Makes my life a lot easier. I don't even think I played this series that well, truthfully. Like I played this first game fine, but this Toronto game really couldn't do much here. I have a lot of all this. I was kind of just baiting and uh, just Ring the Amumu or the Leona for stats and frontlining for a lot of my team. I didn't really do a lot in this one. Um, Draft wise, we'll go through. If we do something a little bit different, we did the Warren first. They respond with a zero Poppy. I think the Poppy matchup is good. Uh, like for Poppy against Ornn, I could be wrong about that, but like there is some weird thing I think that Poppy can do in that matchup that's pretty decent for her. Regardless, they're both just playing tanks, so kind of a wash, anyways. We grabbed the Ori Jarvan, which is okay. Like I don't think it's amazing into a champion like a Azir mid because he's so mobile, obviously, and then you have Poppy who can disable dashes. We had a kind of a coach kind of draft for us here. Not my favorite of their style, and I think KR actually really drafted really well around it. Like they went with Zaya next, and that's gonna save them from getting Ori Jarvan comboed. So overall, really what good for KR so far in the draft. I think they kind of got off a little bit. I don't think the Rel's that bad of a pick. Uh, we lock in hyper carry bot lane, which was really nice for us. And then it was just kind of came down to their jungle pick here, which I think should have been their obviously their R4 pick. I don't know why they wouldn't hold counter for support for R5, but I really don't know why they have an Ivern in this game either, because Ivern is just they just gave us a target to just one shot every time. Um, Ivern not being in the fight obviously is a big deal if he can't keep dishing out more than one shield. Um, so he died a lot. I do remember that. And see that first game, yeah, it wasn't really pretty for the Ivern there. Move on to the second game here. We lock in Kaisa. First pick, we banned the Azir away from fishing for honor because it was pretty oppressing. I think we did take out the Poppy as well. Did give up the Devil Amumu to Swag. I responded with Trundle, just trying to figure out something. We got the Rakan with the Kaisa as a thing. They actually responded really well. Like Caitlyn's really good into Kaisa, and I think Leona's really good into Rakan. So their bot lane should win this on paper. They also get the Victor out there. They're building a beast comp right now. They're doing really well in my opinion. I think they are killing us in draft right here. Uh, Victor, we respond with the Tristana. No, terrible. We knew we were going to blind and Mordekaiser top, as Brandon does play a lot of tanks, and they did were subbing a couple people in. Obviously, Swag was playing in the jungle, and then Brandon moved from jungle to top lane. We only really kind of saw more tank health stacker type champs. So he lock in the Mordekaiser. We needed an AP as well. Pulls out a Kennen instead, and the Kennen wasn't. I don't really like this. It's good for lane. Kennen and Mordekaiser. It's good for lane, but when you're playing Kennen, your goal is to R the entire team and kind of get a fight started or change a fight around and can't really do that when you're in Mordekaiser R. So I really think it's kind of a dog shit counter. Um, and I think more it's decently easy for Mordekaiser to survive that lane and even get kills when you have Rylai's. Because the Kennen can't theoretically can't really kill Mord. Can poke him down a bit, but it's a difficult lane still. I don't really love the counter. Um, it does pair well with the rest of their team at the end of the day, though. So not bad. I think this is mostly just an execution error. Yeah, I keep saying here, our bot lane was just better in this one. Crayson played out of his mind, and Nas did his thing. I just frontlined. This was definitely a lot um, closer of a game too, especially than I would have liked. I don't really love our draft. I'll probably see that a lot when I get to our next matchup against White Lotus Azale as well. But overall, I mean, I'm happy with how we pulled together and uh, did all that. So KR, they're gonna stay exactly where they are. They were dealing with some subs and everything like that, and they have looked good at some points this season. Also, playing in the West doesn't do them really any favors here. Um, but yeah, they're gonna stay right there, and I'm gonna leave us in the contender tier right there, uh, just for now, because I don't think this is kind of an expected win for us, and honestly, it might have been we made it closer in game two than it ever should be. This is how it should always look against teams like this, in my opinion. But yeah, KR definitely a scrappy little team at the end of the day. Um, so we have Black Rose against Agrip Harambe next. This was kind of a oh god, I think it's a death sentence for Ag. I hate to say it because Ag was pretty decent last season. Now they're looking at 0-4 here to start off the season, and I don't really know how to explain what really happened here. We have another Mordekaiser losing the Ornn lane. That's just a That's a thing today, I guess. Malbith's really smurfing on the Yasuo in this one. He's been one of the better mid laners in this league, even with not even being on like the best team. He's really shown out game in, game out that he's kind of built different in this team. But the rest of his team definitely stepping up with a few of the roster changes being made. Obviously, Momo going to AD carry helps them out quite a bit, and this comp really scales really hard if they don't get it behind at all. Uh, they've got a nice little Syndra Vi combination, which has like a lot of burst potential and all that jazz, but it kind of is hard for Jinx to play the game, getting through a Mumu and Ornn when you don't, and then the Yasuo win wall heals and shields. Smolder at full stacks is just going to do more than Jinx in this one. Um, Pretty easy win for Black Rose. It was 42 minutes, which is a little bit like concerning, but if you're, you know, when you're out, you know, you're out when you outscale somebody. Obviously, the Ornn, Smolder, and all this is going to outscale them indefinitely, obviously. So slightly concerning that this game wasn't closed out a little bit sooner, but at the end of the day, they have the scaling advantage. They can kind of take their time, which is what it looks like they did in this one. So good win from Black Rose there. Wasn't expecting it to be this big of a blowout at all. I like I said, I think Ag's pretty decent. At least they were last season. They haven't shown it thus far. They've been in 2 3 game series, but yeah, just not the same team that they were. And then yeah, we get Momo on the Smolder pick yet again, and we even went with something um, very aggressive in the bot lane. We have the Ashe and Leona against the Smolder Sona, and the Smolder Sona looks like they scaled for free. Were not punished at all in this lane. Um, so yeah, that's just how it's gonna be. And also too, Hemo again on the Garen pick into Ornn. They're taking his Ornn away from him. He's a big Ornn player, Hemo is. But Garen and Mordekaiser destroy Ornn, and he loses both of these lanes. He should be able to play these the exact opposite back. He has not had a good split start. Um, I don't think he's even on Ag anymore. But yeah, I don't. It hasn't not looked good, no matter what champion or matchup or who he's playing against. It just has not looked good for Hemo. I think he's had like one maybe good game to start. They definitely have some problems there in the top lane to be resolved. Uh, but yeah, pretty standard stuff. They put 2 big frontliners in. Malbithus can do whatever he wants, and they just have this super greedy bot lane that's just not going to get punished because we're playing in IBSG, and this bot lane just didn't do enough to hold this smolder from scaling, and you're going to lose again. This is another 37-minute game. These 2 games are so long for uh, like how like big of a gap there is really. So it's really concerning, but I think they'll get better at it as they go along. But they are playing these big scaling comps, so I guess you can take as long as you want and be as safe as you want at the end of the day. So yeah, Momo really went off on this series. The bot lane looked extra good. I don't know how you just don't punish Smolder Sona in 2 games in a row, but it's gonna really just come back to haunt you. So got some good jungle work here as well from Vex. So Black Rose might be making a case to move up and all this. They are 1-3 as still. They do have a 3 game series that they play. That is their only win still. I think with Momo at the helm, I would put them probably right here ish. But I'm gonna have to drop Ag down to um, the unknown or not feeling it tier. And I think at this point, this is pretty much just going to be the not feeling it team because we're a bit um, we're a bit through the season obviously now, so a lot of we know a lot more now, and I don't think any team's truly super unknown at the current moment. Maybe AIED, but like I said, they looked dominant in their little time that they have and played good teams. So not really much to. There's not really much unknown about them. They're going to be at least in this good tier or contender tier, even. So yeah, we're going to move on to TDP versus White Lotus Azale. We do have some draft rules that I'll pull up. Looks like a game one and game two bangers, really close stuff. 38-minute game and a 36-minute game here. Let's dive into it, see what kind of happened here. Okay. Looks like Ray had a good series here. Let's dive into this first draft. So WLA, TDP, they wanted to take out Pizza Pazza Mafia's kind of Champo. He's been really good. He's obviously um, one of the best top laners we have in the current league, and he definitely showed it on these two Mundo picks as well. Like they're banning out his two best champions here, three best champions. I think they also had to play into an E sub as well on the side of TDP, so they didn't even get two bans here on the side of TDP, who was on red side to begin with. WLA doing their bans, first picking the Victor. It's what they've been kind of doing for Ray. Just first picking his Victor or Hue or anything really, then just letting him go because he's really confident on these champions. No one's really punished him enough. And on the side of red, we just go with the Amumu Yon. I don't hate it. Yon can do decently well into the Victor, obviously. And Amumu is always safe. The Poppy's there for the disengage. Not my favorite Amumu counter, but it also does pretty decently into Yon. Then we followed up with Caitlyn. And then TDP follows it up with Jin. Jin's not my favorite counter. I know it is a counter to Caitlyn. Caitlyn's kind of one of those, I think it's pick or ban almost always. One of those champs. Yeah, I don't. The Caitlyn doesn't really have bad matchups. She's a lot like a Renekton in that kind of way, or other blindable champions. You could really say like, if you're a good Caitlyn, you can really kind of work your way through every lane. And I don't think Jin's really good into any of this really. And obviously, he struggles into tanks. You're just kind of giving them an avenue to double down on more tankiness. And this is something that we kind of made a mistake in our series when we played against WLA. Is when we picked Jin, and then they have three big frontline tanks and can't get through it pretty much. So obviously, it worked a little bit differently for TDP in this game. They were playing with a different roster than we had. Lullaby is now in the ADC spot, and then they have a different jungler in, and K is gone. Um, Obviously, this was a close game, but yeah, the same kind of draft style that WLA is really used to. Shogat versus Mundo lane, going to be really boring for the most part, and um, just kind of free scaling for both champs, honestly. I will give that one to um, TDP, though. The Mundo will probably do a little bit better in this game because there's not a ton of damage on the side of uh, White Lotus Azalea here. So well done by recognizing that, and it's a decent. This is a pretty decent Mundo angle for sure. Nothing really to really stop him. He goes where he pleases. Um, anything else I'm missing? Oh, I don't really love this Rumble ban. That's what I was gonna say. I think it should be this Mundo ban. He's shown this Mundo a few times so far, and I just think like you can work with this kind of comp. You can work against uh, you can work against Rumble a little bit more. Obviously, Rumble does decently well into tanks, but you can kill Rumble at least. You can't really, you don't really have the tools to really kill a champion like Mundo or a Drain tank. So not my favorite there. A ban for White Lotus Azalea. Um, and they kind of got punished for it here. We'll pull it up. Yeah, I mean, he's doing his thing on the side lane. He's got 17.5k gold. Obviously, their bot lane got really ahead. The Caitlyn lane. Ever is pretty even at the end of the day. Hoodie played really well in the jungle. There's a slight gap there. But yeah, this was a hard fought game. Nonetheless, probably came down to some one team fight down the road. Uh, they even got Soul, it looks like, here from the side of WLA. So yeah, just some execution not working out there. All right, so game two, they have interesting composition from both teams, actually. Let's dive a little bit more into that with the draft rule here. All right, so TDP's on the side, blue side now. This should be an Oriana pick, I think is what this is, right? Yes. No, it's a Syndra pick. Okay, makes sense. So TDP did the same thing here. Banned out a lot of Ray's stuff, and they banned out the Lulu as well. And then they took the Oriana here on the first go ahead. I don't know if you need to do Ori off the rip here, but I don't hate it if you are really confident with it and it's a good blind. Like, it's not bad. This isn't a bad pick, especially since you kind of protected it with two matchups that aren't ecstatic for her being the victor and the Hui. So, and our response from WLA is Ashes and Zhao. I don't know why they wouldn't just pick Ray's stuff here, unless they were really worried about this Zinzao being taken. I don't think Hoodie really plays it. Again, he's more like an Amumu or something off meta type of jungler. Um, so interesting decision there from WLA. Um, yeah, because you're kind of just setting yourself up to get countered twice instead of just the one time. So it's weird to me. You're just kind of wasting a counter here for nothing. I don't think this Zinzao was contested at all or even worth prioring, really. Um, and then, yeah, you get punished with the Mumu and Tristana lane. Something that can fight back against Ashes, like all in. Amumu obviously does a little bit better than Zinzao in a team fight setting. And honestly, the 1v1 probably still favors Amumu because he is busted. And then, yeah, you still have the Syndra. You would have the Syndra anyways. And Syndra's decent into Ori. Not as big of a lane bully as she used to be because they've really done a lot to make her more of a scaling champ than a lane bully. Um, anyways, they're throwing more bans at Pista Pasta Mafia, so it really was kind of a difference between like Pista Pasta Mafia versus Ray, in draft at least. Uh, both players eating a ton of drafts or bans. And I'm just so confused why you saw that this Mundo was such a problem in game one. And like Hastika is not like a, I don't know, not like a Gwen or like anything that's gonna. He's more of like a tank player, more of like a tank bruiser player. Not really anything that's gonna like shred or punish like a weak side tank like a Mundo. Like it's very susceptible in the champ pool. Like you banned Camille and Urgot when you have Alawi and Pool is just really weird to me because I don't think either of those matchups are bad for Alawi. Sure, if you want to ban even the Jax, for instance, isn't even bad. It's actually a really good matchup for Alawi against Jax. Like it's really weird that like we wouldn't just let Pista Pazza just pick one of these things, ban the Mordekaiser, if because if you can't counter it. It just seems like they banned the wrong champions for Pista Pasta. Like we had the first game, the Rumble ban was really weird, and now we're doing Camille and Urgot in this one, and he just runs back Mundo, and that's exactly what they needed on their team. He's just unstoppable in a side lane. I don't think Alawi does great into Mundo. I, it's kind of just free scaling at the end of the day. He's gonna kind of just reach in and survive the lane, and I guarantee when I go look at it, yeah, he did just fine in this lane. Something that did not go well though was the bot lane. Oh, that's kind of interesting interaction. So I think Morgana shield on Trist, and then she can just jump in for free whenever, and Poppy really can't do anything about it. Can't push her away or can't stop the jump because she's shielded. She's well shielded. So that's a really good counter, and I like the Morgana pick here in particularly. It's also decent into obviously the Zinzao and like holding people down in place. They have a lot of AP on their team, uh, but like it's not bad because they still have a Mumu, and Mundo's like not crazy AP or anything like that, obviously either. But having the Mumu also helps turn a lot of that into true damage, and you got the Abyssal Mask right here as well. So Hoodie playing phenomenally on the Mumu yet again. It's a broken champ. I don't know why we're letting it through. Really, I think you have to trust your top laner a little bit more when then they have things like this in pool. Like, because like Pizza Pasta still has the Gwen he could have played if he was R5 and he saw the Alawi. There's still a lot of things that he has that he can play. He is definitely asserting himself as one of, if not the best top laner in this league, for sure. Just from the sheer amount of bans that he soaks up and obviously how he does consistently well every game. Even if he wasn't the main character of this series, it looks like Hamilcar, and Lucifer did really well in games 1 and 2 with their sub situation going on, obviously. So obviously the rest of the team did really well, but yeah. White Lotus Azalea falling just short in long games here. Not bad. They did make a lot of the roster adjustments going in. Um, I'll leave them right where they are, honestly, because they're probably going to go up here when we go to contenders off their new roster. And I don't think that's that bad of a loss for them. I think that's really asserting, though, for TDP to kind of definitely throw them up into the good tier. I know they didn't play WLA's newest roster, but like having an ESUB and still playing that well, even with rocky-ish type of drafts, I think they did pretty well. They out executed, and I mean, at the end of the day, if you can execute, it doesn't really matter what you draft. If the player gap is just that wide, we've seen it like a few times today. Mordekaiser losing the Ornn matchup. That's player gap. Unfortunately, that's just player gap, and a lot of these other matchups. So I will put TDP. Oh, I think I'll put them here. Uh, and WLA, I guess we'll do this now because I'll just do it again later. But yeah, I would have put WLA just falling back a little bit at the time if I was obviously doing this video a little bit. Like if I did this on 225 or 325, I would have put them down a little bit, and then but I am going to shoot them up later on. Spoiler alert. And then the last matchup we have in week 4 is White Lotus Wisteria again, and they're going to go beat Bra. So 2-0 here. What an ugly first game, though. This is 33 minutes, really low kill count here. Worked out for the side of White Lotus Wisteria, but I was not expecting this to be like a low kill series or like a very slow paced series because Braz has not been really good and they've been kind of getting outlaned almost every game pretty regularly. Oh gosh, Valor just not getting it done. Kind of some people thought that he might be make a difference and be 1v9, but I think it's more of just they need help elsewhere. The whole team's kind of not playing well in general. I don't know if we have draft rules. We do not. Let's see what exactly happened in this first game. Wild Lotus Wisteria gets the good Mundo matchup against Malphite. Mundo's really popular right now, from what I can tell, um, among a lot of the top laners in this league. So that's a W for WLA or WLW, I should say. Uh, Volley beats Viego. Okay, Aurora versus Lux is interesting. I think Lux kind of has a slight edge just because of the poke advantage. Um, but also, Aurora has a lot of tools to play in that lane as well. So I'd probably call it a 50-50 lane. And then we paired Jin and Lulu together. Not a good pairing in my eyes. Kind of a drafter there. It just seemed like they just didn't get any counter here on the side of Bra and draft. From what I could tell, like I'm curious to see what their actual counter picks were here because none of these really made all that much sense at the end of the day. Uh, Kind of looks like they wanted to go for some sort of like Viego reset comp, like because they do have a lot that can just burst down a single target. But when they lock in as their frontline Mundo and Volley, it's really hard to kill both of those champions um, very quickly, obviously. And then yeah, there's a lot of slipperiness with the Aurora. Even like Viego can't really do much here. Um, and they're definitely not ever killing Mundo. That's the one thing. I hope this Mundo better have been really late in the draft for them because if they saw the Mundo and they still drafted Jin and they still drafted like Malphite and Lux, yikes! It's the only one who could kill Mundo is Viego here, but it that doesn't even do that well. Mundo goes where he pleases yet again in this one, but didn't really seem like he did a ton fighting wise. Had a good splits, has a lot the most gold in the game. So yeah, just a solid little draft here by White Lotus Wisteria. I really like it. And Bras trying something out here, but I don't think you I don't think you can just lock this in without having any adaptations in the draft because it doesn't really make sense. The composition itself makes sense, but not into what you're playing against, unfortunately. And I think draft does matter a lot in IBSG, despite what other people might say or agree with, like as they think of the execution. If players are just better, then they'll just win anyways, which is true. But draft also makes it insanely easy for any type of player. It makes it harder for them to fail as players, which I think is more reliable thing than relying on a skill gap between the two players. And then yeah, they just kind of got ran over in this game too. They tried something a little bit different on the bot lane. This Lucian Nami. I think we've seen Lucian Nami today, and I don't even think either Lucian or Nami in both those games even got a kill. They're like 0 for 23 probably combined. Oh yeah, but it looks like we might have a Jin mid as well. I don't really know what's going on with that. I think at the end of the day, it's just a hand. They've got 280 carries and a Kane. This Malphite's getting a lot of value on the side of White Lotus Wisteria. Uh, Obviously, the Nocturne Ori can do whatever they want whenever they want. Tristana also wins in the 1v1s against both those 80 carries. I don't really know. Honestly, This draft kind of hurts my head. It's I think it's a tough team to really draft for if you're on the side of Bra, but yeah, it nothing's really working here. Um, I think it's going to be very hard and difficult for them to win another series this split. Unfortunately, I like there's very little opportunity. I think because I think they're the established, definitely worst team right now, and it's not really that close. Unfortunately, we'll see if that changes. They have any roster switch ups because like at the end of the day, even though they're 0-5, there's like what 12, 13 games in the regular season, and the East is pretty bad. Obviously, that like one win gets them basically in playoff position, which is sad to say the least. But yeah, it's just kind of the unfortunate reality of the East right now. And if you can't get it done in the East, then it's kind of just cooked at the moment. So yeah, Braw's gonna stay right down there, and White Lotus Wisteria I'm gonna put up just above uh, KR. I did think they had a really nice little week while I was gone. Good job for them getting those two dubs now, asserting themselves in a decent spot to be like a top three East team. It's very plausible actually right now. I'm excited to see what they can do against Calypso's Calamity or DP Knights, maybe even Rat Tactics. So we'll have to keep an eye out on the new look Black Rose and Wisteria. White Lotus definitely on the rise as an entire uh, what's it called organization. So that is week 4. Oh my! Looks like we have plenty more games to go through. Lucky me. Okay, Coachless Tyranny and Forge Esports Vanguard here. A 2-1. I think I did say this was going to be a 3-game series on my pick'ems, but um, it was at the side of Forge. But it does look like CLT took care of business here, and it's the usual suspects that you would you would think are leading the charge. Meng Hao and Raining Wolves, really good game there. We have an interesting Rocky selection here with the Nefiri. Interesting. I think it's something that is being tried out since the changes. Not sure how it really is going to stick quite yet. I personally don't think it's great. I think there's a lot better options out there, but it's definitely worth trying out for sure. Didn't do terribly in this game. It looks like a 36-minute little banger here. Don't have the draft rules, so can't really see a ton here. I do kind of like that the fact that like Nefiri can go in or Urgot can go in and Galio can follow. There's a lot of go button on this side of CLT, but they also have at the same time a lot of ways to just sit back and poke with Ash and Zera. There's a lot of zoning tools and stuff here. If you're on the side of Forge in this game, you have to be first to objectives and you have to catch this kind of comp out. And they did play for a pick comp here. 4G Sports, they got the Camille, they got the Zen. Um, Obviously, they can get some picks out with Taliar and Verisar. Can easily pop somebody here. I don't think this is a bad draft from either side. It just looks like um, CLT just out executed here, and it's the power of their soul laners in this first game. Let's see, they must have lost in this second game here. We have the classic little Renekton Mordekaiser matchup, very volatile lane. Uh, Obviously, slightly Renekton favored. I think it's closer for good Mordekaisers, and actually it could just depend how good of a Renekton you really are as well. I think that probably plays a big part, but fundamentals definitely still run this lane. I don't think it's as bad as a counter as people might think it is if you're a disciplined enough Mordekaiser player. But yeah, we have Mang Hao putting up really solid numbers yet again here, even in the loss. Raining Wolves got his match with Wildstar here, so wasn't as ahead as he was in the last game. It looks like we had some late game scaling. I didn't even notice Traxon's not playing in this series for 4G Sports, which could have mattered quite a bit actually. But yeah, we played a lot of good scaling here on the side of 4G Sports, and I mean it's 39 minutes, and then you have a Smolder and a Tarek. You just kind of win. um, yeah, so I mean there's some decent scaling on the side of um, CLT, but not there's not much lockdown here. There's not really much to peel off a Sejuani and uh, what's her name? What's this mid lane champ's name? Wherever this abomination is, Bessa. Yeah, there's it's pretty. It's gonna be pretty hard to peel off that, and then you don't really have like a ton of people that can eat multiple smolder Qs without just dying instantly at that stage of the game. So needed to end this one kind of quickly, even though you've got like a Sivir Lulu and all that, but you're on a timer with a champion like Smolder at all times, and Tarek are as well, just can completely flip fights. So I think a rare little loss for CLT. Yeah, that's their second of this season for just an individual game of a loss. And this one is like the only one I feel like might have been more so lost in draft for them, which is a rare thing. Um, they've got good counters in their lanes, though. I don't really know. They played like CLT played like a greedy bot lane. Like they have the Sivir Lulu. It's super safe, super greedy, or super greedy because it scales really hard later on. It doesn't do a ton right away, but you have a lot of late game insurance. But the way that Forge played, they just went even greedier with Tarek and Smolder, and it just kind of went unpunished. I think that's kind of just the story of this game. And there's enough front line for Smolder at that point in the game where you just tell all four of your teammates just kind of play for you, and that's exactly what happened in this one. Another Smolder 1v9. We've been seeing several Mundos popping off lately. We've seen a lot of Smolders popping off here as well. This is how uh, the meta of the league is really kind of working right now. So well done here from Forge, making this a good series against a good coachless tyranny team. Unfortunately, they did not have nearly as much success as they did in the first two games. CLT coming in with a hammer. Okay, I really like this little adjustment here. So Downfall and Romeo really got together here and played something a little bit more aggressive and definitely took advantage of the 2v2 because they what did Forge try to do again? They try to play something super greedy again. But this time CLT able to play something that can dominate the lane a little bit better. Um, Obviously, this one still went 45 minutes, which is crazy to me. Um, but I mean, there is a lot more obviously insurance and scaling elsewhere. Obviously, you get outscaled in the bot lane. I mean, outscaled. Kai'Sa's a pretty big hyper carry late in the game as well. So I wouldn't say the gap between Kai'Sa and Jinx is insanely big there. But Tarek over Rakan for sure. Uh, it's kind of impressive that the Aatrox never came completely online because that is a decent matchup against the Ornn. The Silas pick is really also, I think, questionable. I don't know when he was taken, but there's not really much good Silas ult potentials here, in my opinion. A lot of weird ones. Like Ornn ult's pretty nice to have, I guess, but I'm really curious to see when that was actually taken. I think it's kind of it probably was just more of a counter to Victor in lane to put more pressure. Meng Hao able to survive it though. And yeah, I mean, the side that has Ornn at 45 minutes and a hyper carry with also a Victor is going to win this one out. Silas gets outscaled pretty hard here. So yeah, just not enough firepower on the side of Forge in this last game. CLT putting together a really nice composition in this one. It's a pretty big pick comp because you can kind of just Ornhorn or uh, engage with the Rakan, and then you have Kaisa who's just going to fly in and one shot anyone who's got hit by any of that. And then you just have Victor in the back just lasering everybody, and Rocky's jumping in from who knows where, Narnia, and also one shotting people. So yeah, it's a good comp. And when this goes 45 minutes, it's really hard for Jinx when you just don't have the tools in front of you that are needed. And in this one, I don't think they had a good enough tools. I think it was very easy to get on top of Jinx in this one. So good draft here by CLT and even better execution in this game three. They stay undefeated. A scary series for them, showing that they are beatable to an extent. Also, you got no Traxon in for Forge, but yeah, it's not bad there. We have another matchup here with White Lotus Azalea and Jolly Rogers Ghost Crew, and this one went 2-0 for the side of White Lotus Azalea. Now, I don't want to make any excuses or anything like that. Obviously, I was on a trip here. Um, they played really well in this game, and obviously, you see the new adjustments that they made in the adjustments they made from last week. Obviously, Lullaby going from jungle to ADC. They bring in Yuji at the jungle role. They looked good with that, and they drafted even better. I felt like they were so prepared for what we were doing in our games, and really proved that we can't just run Jarvan Ori until people just figure it out. This team has figured it out. So much respect to them. They played really freaking good in this game. All five of them. I couldn't find a weak spot. Um, they moved together really well. I believe it's either I think Velos is coaching them. It's either that or Lucky, but they had them so ready. This is a really nice series for them. But yeah, I don't want to make any excuses. We did not play well in this series, and I think we drafted even poorer. And as kind of the person who takes care of draft for JRGC, I was not happy about how these drafts ended up. And after I reviewed them, and there's a ton of mistakes that I'm personally going to learn from in here. Um, but yeah, I was also lagging a bit here from that hotel Wi-Fi, but so there's a few times where I did a Jarvan R and it's like 5 seconds late and only catches Braum in the first game. But yeah, no, they played really well. I think one of the reasons too, Yuji has been the only jungler that has really counter ganked anything that we've done in mid lane, especially with a combination like Ori Jarvan, where I mean, you just kind of want to hit their mobile mid laner on repeat. And I mean, they drafted the Victor twice here, right? That's an immobile mid laner. Um, we were trying to jump on him each time. I think I probably ganked mid 5, 6 times between the two games with when we had that combination, and Yuji was there 5 of those times. I think we only got like one really actual successful gank off against the Victor. I think every other time Yuji really read it really well. Ray plays super aggressive in the lane to really sell it as well and bait the gank in. And like I said, they played phenomenally in this series. We had no answer. That kind of short notice and things. Something to work at, something to really evaluate and draft, and our own individual gameplay. Obviously, Nas didn't play very well in the game one. um, yeah, something to look at. But yeah, Yuji played phenomenally. Hestika did way more than what we expected, and their bot lane much improved from uh, previous weeks, in my opinion. I think that this is a really solid match, and this is like more of the Azalea team that we uh, thought was going to be the product starting week one. Like we thought this they would be this good week one. It took them 4 or 5 weeks here, but I think they've arrived finally. I think they're going to be super tough for any team to really go at now. So we'll see how they finish, but I would imagine they're back. um, but yeah, also Ray doing his thing. I think I missed him. But yeah, I will take this series on the chin as a learning experience. Did not play very well. There's a lot of specifics that I don't want to go through of what we could have done in draft. I just don't want to give that away for uh, next week. It's kind of yeah, it's just a lot. Anyways, good on White Lotus Azalea, and I think we will be able to bounce back as a team on JRGC um, next time. I would like to play them again if possible, but yeah, what I'm gonna do is I am gonna put them up here, and then I'm gonna drop JRGC down just behind them. I think that's kind of more so of where we're fitting right now. I think everyone's kind of getting a little bit more even. Every new teams are dropping each week. We've got multiple contenders at the top, multiple middle range people. Like this has been a really competitive league thus far, where I don't think there is going to be a clear winner uh, up until the end. Like obviously I don't think there's a clear favorite at the moment. Obviously, I have AIED up here in the first favorites, but we haven't seen them play in a little while, and every week these other teams are just getting better and better. Like Coaches Tierney and TDP, Oversoul, Oasis, Rad Tactics. Like everyone's getting so much better, and it's been a while since we've seen them play. But I believe they do have two matchups coming up in about a week, so we'll see how um, that kind of ages. But right now, AIED pretty much the lone favorite at the moment. Let's see if I can anything changes here. So we have Rat Tactics against White Lotus Wisteria. Again, I think this is expected. Um, they didn't roll over in these games. A little bit short, obviously, of games, but they didn't roll over. It looks like. Uh, huh. So coin flip. I really like how coin flip approached this series. How he dealt with Westbound ASAP, who's predominantly a obviously tank player. So obviously we get the Mordekaiser in against this Malphite matchup. Really devastating for Malphite, obviously, because Mordekaiser wins this pretty handedly. And then we have the Set versus Mundo matchup. Pretty good for Set because of the more health that Mundo has, the more you can fling Mundo into the enemy team, and then they all just get one shotted. So I really like how Coin Flip actually drafted. I imagine he got counterpicked twice, is why we see those kind of selections for him. Um, so well done there. It's also nice too that Pizanski plays the Gwen in the jungle because that's also gonna really screw up Volibear and Mundo as well. And like obviously, like no tank is safe when Gwen is in the game. So Pizanski really showing up here. They drafted really well. Really had a lot of anti-tank damage in the second game when they needed it. This is like it's kind of like what White Lotus has been doing across a couple teams. They kind of have like they've kind of got their ADC and their mid on stuff that can really hard carry. Junglers maybe on something like a little bit bruisery, but like still tanky. Like Volibear, perfect example of that. And then really big tank pieces in the top and the support. And I think Rat Tactics is given a masterclass of how to draft to deal with that. They've got a hyper carry that's going to eventually shred through all of them with 3 or 4 items. That's what you're playing for with the Jinx. Plus, you pair it with the Lulu, doing even more damage. Gwen, obviously, a nightmare for tanks after a certain point because of her passive. And then, yeah, Set with Bork, nonetheless, is going to also fry you if you are just building health, which is what Mundo does with his first couple items is straight health items. He only just started building resistances 28 and a half minutes into the game. So yeah, that was kind of that first game. The second game, Saint actually did really well in this LeBlanc, but it looks like Emerge and uh, Astrid did really well in the bot lane. Both games, obviously, they did really well. I think that's really expected. Like this bot lane definitely is a tier above Yuri and Chubby. Yuri and Chubby are more, I think, a middle of the pack pairing, but having Ashford and Emerge together, obviously, they're insanely good together. Um, One of the best duos we have in the league so far, or just in general, I should say. And yeah, I'm not really surprised by this. Saint, I think, pretty much the only one who had like a matchup that was favorable for them as players. Like I think Saint is the only one who kind of rivals their lane opponent. So it looks like they kind of got just murdered across the board in a lot of their roles, and Saint put up the best fight he could um, against Zelmac. So, which isn't Zelmac's not an easy opponent to keep down like this, but he definitely did a good job there as a lone bright spot for Wisteria in this one. Like I said, with Wisteria, I think this is the second or third game we've seen from him. I think this I don't even remember, but I'm going to keep them right where they are here. I think a lot of improvement, obviously, from where they came up from. I would like to see more. I would like to see them continue to play against and taking care of business against all these other um, East opponents, I should say. And it looks like they're going to get tested right back with a trip to Jolly Rogers Calypso Calamity in week 6. Week 7, Blackthorn, something they should definitely be taken care of there. So probably they've got a good opportunity to establish themselves as the second or third best team in this league, or in the East, I should say. So they're on the come up, I think. Really tough to play against Rat Tactics, obviously, but um, luckily for them, they if they can get a second or third seed, I think they got a shot to win around the first round of their playoffs against one of these West teams, um, and a best of 5 for sure. So I will keep them right here for now, though, just on the overall rankings. Obviously, I think they are definitely going to make playoffs. I don't think they're a playoff bubble, but I wouldn't put them ahead of any of these other teams quite yet, from what I have seen and stuff. But they are trending upwards for sure. And RT, I'm going to put them back up into the favorites tier. They've taken care of business ever since week 1. Obviously, they dropped that one game to Paradox Hayes, but after that, they've been lights out, 8-0 since. So I think they've kind of figured out their early blunders. I think the roster was going through a little bit of changes too. They've got a completely new bot lane, and now that bot lane has kind of gotten comfortable. And obviously, they're one of the better duos that we have in the league right now. And the rest of their lineup is obviously solid. So I think they deserve to be in this favorite tier. And I think if they did play AIED again, I don't know if they would win, but I do think it would be a lot closer than what they did. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes moving forward. But both teams, regardless, having a great week and trending upwards. Next one is Jolly Rogers Calypso's Calamity. They played against Blackthorn. A 2-0 here. K-Dash playing Belveth is nice. Okay. Fusion really taking it to Rand as well. What you like to see finally showing up for JRCC as athletic exception. Even Buckby getting involved on the Seraphine and Lysandra, really getting comfortable with there against Cheesecake. It wasn't even Cheesecake he was killing, making plays elsewhere. And then yeah, the bot lane, Karma hates you, and Reximus did really well. Just an all around great win for them. Obviously, Blackthorn, not a prestigious team we have in the league. Definitely belonging in this not feeling it team tier, but JRCC definitely took care of business here. I'm going to leave them right here because I don't think they're still not better than OVS or TDP or any of these other teams. Potentially DPK, potentially. I'm on the fence. I really am on the fence if DPK just had a bad week against a good opponent in OVS, or if there's more trouble in paradise on the way for them. I need to see more games, and unfortunately, they don't really play all the time, all that often. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they develop here. And because like the only thing I've really seen them do is beat teams that they really should, like Bra here. We're gonna check out the next game. Like, yeah, we will go through really quickly with the drafts really quick. So JRCC banning them of Fury. Apparently, they thought it was pretty broken. Um, Watching it in the LPL, not something I guess you want to ruin your games. I could get behind. Locking in that Amumu for K Dash first, responding with Ari Zach. Eh, I guess. I really like the Lysandra pick because there's a ton of lockdown for Ari, which is why I don't really like Ari as well. Like her only tool that like kind of makes her really good is her mobility and her pick potential, but like now she just kind of gets point and click CC'd by Amumu and Lysandra and just dies. So I don't really like it. She's pretty short range too, so uh, changed my mind about Ari still, but I don't really like her, and I don't really like it in this situation either. Uh, Caitlyn, good blind as well. Like I said, hard to really even deal with a Caitlyn. I think it's perfectly blindable champ, pick or ban. Ash is one of those. Like I think in terms of like good Caitlyn matchups, I think ADCs will commonly say like a Ash or a Jinx or um, Sever. I've heard maybe, and then you obviously have the Jin as well. But I like all the ADCs just listed aren't even like I don't know. They just feel bad to lock in because they kind of pivot you into a certain team style. But I digress. Got the Seraphine follow up here. The Braum counterpick I don't really like um, on the side of JRCC. I've said this before. It's kind of a soft counter. Like, yeah, you can block the R, but it's also really easy to not block the R. So, and you get kind of bullied out in lane and poked out because you're playing into a poke lane as Braum and you're a warden. You don't really have any poke, and your engage is subpar at best. So, yeah. Luckily, though, in this comp, Amumu and Lysandra are more of the playmakers, and Brahm's more of the follow up. So it's not bad. Not my favorite selection here from JRCC, though. Like they could have found something slightly better. I would have liked to maybe see like I don't even like a Leona could have been good if it was up. I know the only thing that was really taken away was the Nautilus, which also would have been good. But I think like a Leona here would go really well if it is in Reximus's pool or any other sort of like tank engage champion. But yeah, got blind, and we got the Mbessa. Uh, Mbessa's strong, and it definitely depends on like how good the Mbessa is. I think because she obviously doesn't have like insanely egregious matchups where she just loses. Urgot would be kind of one that I would think would be hard though. Um, but obviously, I think it's up to how good the Mbessa player is at the end of the day. One of those type of skill expressive champions, and it didn't go well for Rand in that game. So, all right, let's see how we got the Belveth out here though. So let's see. Okay, so it's the side of Blackthorn. We go with the Ari again, blind, whatever. I guess I know it is Cheesecake's like best champ, so I guess if it's the comfort we're really kind of worried about, sure. But I think Cheesecake is the best on this team, so I would rather Cheesecake pick later on in the game something impactful that they can really carry on in a comp setting with, rather than Ari. I haven't seen the full pool of Cheesecake, but there's got to be something better that you can pick later on, in my opinion. But especially when your team is struggling like this to get wins and stuff, and you are kind of the lone bright spot of the team so far. Um, but yeah, MF Seraphine is the counter, and that is the Seraphine mid. So I really like that what they did there. Obviously, those two champs insanely good together in a team fight situation. Most of the time, you'll see them in bot lane together, but Seraphine mid lane's fine to do and can clear a wave, and it can do exactly kind of what it can like match the Ari on the wave clear and stuff like that. So not bad. You could get all in by Ari. That would be my only concern. There's also a Zinzao, so you kind of do lose in the river, like in any early game skirmish. But in terms of like when all of the champions kind of get together with all their R's, the side of JRCC wins. But if the side of Blackthorn, they can get any sort of like pick before with using the Ari, Maokai, Varus tools and things and such. So it's pick comp versus team fight. And the Belveth's a little bit weird, in my opinion, but I don't think it's bad. There's a lot because there's a lot of skill shots for Blackthorn, and if K Dash is on a mobile champion like Belveth's, it's kind of the same thing what I said about Investments. How well can you pilot this Belveth, and like can you do these little stutter steps and dodge skill shots and all that, and then you're so much better of a Belveth player. That's kind of just a mandatory thing of the champion because she doesn't have a ton of range. Obviously, she has to get on top of people to do damage. Obviously, she has the mobility for that, but very easy to fuck up on a champion like Belveth. Um, I'm curious to see how it went in the game. I wish I could watch it. It might have been streamed. I don't know. But it's definitely it's a ballsy pick, but I don't hate it. It's weird, but I don't hate it. I haven't seen one in a long time, so glad we're getting a little bit of variety in the jungle coming out. We respond with a Nautilus, which does pretty well into pretty much all these champions. Provides you some lockdown for the Ari, a way to get on top of the Varus, and can peel Zinzao if needed. Maokai's a good answer to the Nautilus. A lot of disengage there in lane. And then our Cassante blind, not bad. We respond with Vernectin, which one of Fusion's better champions. I know they can't ban them all. They did the Camille and the Horn already, so and it looks like the Mordekaiser's gone as well. So yeah, I don't think you could have gotten any on it any better matchup. I think Rand versus Fusion is just in general not a positive matchup for Blackthorn in general. So it's definitely it's supposed to be JRCC's bright spot. And Fusion played well in both of the games. The whole team looks like they played really well. Buckby really getting involved on the map, even if it's not really killing Cheesecake at all, but looks like they were more effective in the river and skirmish fights and rotations. So well done here from JRCC and Blackthorn. I don't think there's anything to really change between those. And then we'll look at DPK and Bra. Looks like we have a few more games to go, and we're coming up on an hour and a half here. Kind of cooking a little bit. I still want to do player power rankings later, so let's get into this. DPK, it's actually a close game against Bra in this first one. Not what you really want to see. It looks like we have a slightly different lineup, though. We have Ace going mid, so it looks like we didn't have Spartan in this matchup, which does matter a lot. I think Spartan's probably their best player. And we had Chaz go top, and their sub Zammy and at support. Did we get draft lulls? We did not. Let's see. Top lane's kind of a wash. Jungle's kind of a wash. Yasuo should beat Lux. I imagine that was a counter pick. Kai'Sa's getting into the Jhin. Lulu's fine. I don't know. Really could go either way with both teams. I think the side of DPK is a bit easier to obviously execute because, Malphite Yasuo at the end of the day, on top of Jhin or Lux, is kind of a death sentence. You do have a Shen to kind of help play for that and a few other peel options, but the side of Bra is kind of just all over the place. They're kind of just trying to play this pick comp again, but they really just don't have any way of dealing with Maokai or Malphite either. Like, there's just no tank shred in any of their comps, and that's kind of what I said about their comp last time. There's just kind of really one-dimensional pick, and if they're not getting picks, then the comp really isn't going to work in a team fight sense. So, something they're trying, I bet. So, we'll have to see and continue monitoring. This was obviously a close first game. Taking advantage of not having Spartan in the lineup definitely helps. But yeah, Ace and Chaz doing just fine in different roles here. Zammy coming in off the bench as well. Looks like they had a field day bot lane. They gave Lurka his Caitlyn, which is really weird that they're banning MF and Zeri. I don't know. I don't really love the bans here, and I think this got even worse. This draft just got even worse than the other one, and I don't know. It is what it is. Lurka didn't even play Zeri in this game. Why do they even? Okay, whatever. Moving on. Both these teams should be about in the same spot. I think. I still think DPK could be a contender just because they're in the East. They're likely gonna win 9, maybe 8 or 9 series uh this split. So yeah. Next up, we have Kid Killers versus White Lotus Black Rose. A 2-1 for Kid Killers, getting back on the map here. Oh, I hate that. Oh, God. Okay. All right. So Trey sent this on his phone. Got dumpstered at game 1 in classic CKK fashion. Bot lane did quite poorly in this one. Dubs playing the Warwick top. It's a really weird draft. This is a funky one. Okay, we have the Akshan mid. We have a Seraphine Morgana bot lane. A Vi jungle. And Warwick top. Yeah. And yeah, Melbithus had a field day with this one. Black Rose just doing their thing still, though, and playing the exact same stuff we just saw in their other series that we went over. They've got good front line and played a really greedy bot lane, and they're not getting punished. Like in any of these games, their opponents are refusing to play anything aggressive, or when they do play something aggressive, they're not getting anything done. So, well done. Momo's just free low on this smolder. But the real hero here is obviously Malbithus, really just lighting up the entire map 18-0 and 5, one of the better mid performances of the season for sure in the game one win over CKK. So what went wrong for Black Rose after that? That's curious. And even here they're up by 14 kills and they lose. And they've got Snake Bob and how do you lose this game? Smolder's got 20 kills. Malbithus is 18. They've got frontline. They've still got a good enchanter. What? Was if this game was streamed, please someone tell me. But the hell do you not 2-0 this? This is this is my thing with the CKK here. They're scrappy as hell, and they're gonna stay in it no matter what. So you always have to close out games and be careful about how you close out. They even had solo in this one. Uh, Probably one of the biggest throws we've seen in the league, if not the biggest. We've got a full build smolder here. I can't see the game time, but I imagine it's pretty freaking late. Oh my god. So this just came down to a miracle team fight over probably like an Elder or Baron, I would say. Oh, yeah, what? They've got two Barons. And they took. What? Maybe they just were getting split on and just couldn't handle it. The Shen left lane a little too much to help. And we give Alawi and or Hui a lot of time in a side lane to. That's crazy. I think they just got straight out macroed here. Three turrets? What? Something extremely wrong happened here with Black Rose. They have a lot of kills and they have a lot of position, and they were like there for a lot of like dragon fights and stuff. But like, how much shit did you give for that? Like they're down 9k gold just from the turrets and the objectives, and they're down 14. This is crazy. All right, that's tilting to even review. Okay, let's go to game three. The Sona very contested pick in this one. Uh, Momo with this playing his ass off yet again as well. Just couldn't get anything going in the top side of the map though. Dubs running that over. The Gwen pick out of PP So Small, who was having not a great series prior to this game. Grandma with a gun on the way played really well in both of the games, it looks like. And finally, some bot lane action from Trey and Snake Ob, and it couldn't have come at a better time. Really weird combination of like how they did this and stuff like that. And I'm surprised they actually win this matchup because, Sona versus Nautilus, but that's CKK for you. It's almost impossible to even analyze. But yeah, definitely a lot to review if you're the side of Black Rose and how you guys lose these games. Malvithus definitely played his ass off in this series. Feels bad that they couldn't get that going. Like they should easily be 2-2. They should be flipped right now. In my eyes. Wow. Anyways, um, I do think Black Rose is going into the positive direction. Obviously, I just pulled them out of not feeling it. I think they have some positive things. I hope it was just that they just couldn't handle CKK's weirdness and how they play the game because like you can even feel it in the game too. Like they split really weirdly. They have different levels of macro. Their drafts are weird. It's not a normal game playing against CKK, which is their biggest strength, to be honest. But yeah, CKK taking that one 2-1. Still don't think they're better than anyone else above them, but oh boy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like even tempted to put Black Rose still ahead of them. This is such a fluke of a series in my opinion, but well, they gotta give it to CKK for staying in there and This is comedy, honestly. Oh, lot to review if you're on the side of Black Rose. All right, and we got one more here, and it's TDP versus Elegy. Watched a little bit of this and saw it. Pizza Pasta. Basically, the moral of the story was Pizza Pasta Mafia again in the top lane. He not only took the Mundo Gwen matchup, but he did it again as the Gwen and the Mundo, and he to the Mundo and yeah, played both sides of the matchup and really just top depth magician, and that's something that's someone who they just brand new added. I think this is their first or second game that they've had magician, but having to play Pizza Pasta Mafia, not a good test. But if that's any indication, you're down 100. You're in a counter matchup. You're down 100 CS and 3 kills. Yikes! Obviously, TDP playing with another sub too. They got Wolven in there this time. Looks like Liar had an interesting pick in the Cho'Gath. 8-1 here. Didn't really amount to anything, it looks like, though. And it kind of just continued the KDA style. Like, yeah, we've got 345 CS, but what are we doing? Like, in my opinion, if you're only dying twice in a series and you lose 2-0, you're playing for KDA or you're doing something wrong. You're not being a team player. I'm just gonna say it right now. I do like that we had some Jarvan Ori action as well. The really easy access to kill the Aphelios whenever needed is like a late game insurance. So the side of TDP drafting really well. Obviously, they ran into the Gwen counter pick, but like Pizza Pasta Mafia, and that was supposed to be LG's big like advantage that they were supposed to have in this game. Pizza Pasta Mafia made it not an advantage at all for them, um, which is why they kind of got ran over in this game. The only thing that kind of worked out for Elegy in this one is the really weird Shogath angle pick. Did well in skirmishes and stuff. It looks like so. Yeah, LG was undefeated, I believe, before this tournament, and they're pretty decent, I would say. I think the second um, draft they kind of are not playing very well in the second draft, and honestly, the first draft I didn't really like either. But it's really weird all around. Doesn't really have any sort of synergy with each other, or it really doesn't even do like that well in lanes and stuff. Like we're not really getting any counter picks. Our best pick is the Gwen, and it did the worst. Like our best matchup, I should say, is the Gwen, and it did the worst against the Mundo. So yeah, I don't really. This is hard. Hoodie pulling out the 80 eater. Interesting to see. And then yeah, it's just Pizza Pasta Mafia diff on the top side. Hoodie another spectacular game. Wolven doing his thing on a utility mage. Bot lane fighting it out both games. Definitely the most even part I think of these two teams is their bot lanes. Um, but yeah, LG kind of got a little exposed here, in my opinion. Some weird picks, weird drafting, and I think some problems with like, yeah, like I don't see why you. How are you not more involved? Like that's insane. How are you not more involved in any of the games? Dying twice and oh god. Anyways, that's gonna do it. LG not in a bad spot. Obviously, TDP is undefeated, so it's a tough matchup. I can't wait to play both these teams. I think we play them personally in week 6 and 7, so that should be really fun. Back to back. Elegy, I'm gonna keep them right where they are because like they did lose to a good TDP team. I'm almost tempted to switch. I think I'm gonna do this. I don't think I can keep TDP or DPK up in contenders. I think they're throwing a lot of subs in. They've had some weird situations with their bot lanes. Their drafts are a little bit weird as of late. I don't think they definitely took a step back and they're facing easier competition and giving it more of a game. Like it's not as big of a gap as it should be for a favorite or contender tier team. So and in reverse, TDP is playing really solid teams and playing really well, drafting pretty decently, and playing just really well in general together. So and they're playing with subs and e subs. So I'm gonna give the edge to TDP. Um, yeah. So let's see here. It looks like most of the stats are updated. I think the only stats that aren't in is TDP versus Elegy and potentially Black Rose versus CKK. As we normally do, we're gonna just run through um, player things real quickly. Obviously, you had Chaz stepping in as a sub or just from support to top lane. He comes up here, probably won't be top lane again, assuming Spartan comes back. But yeah, the usual members still up in the top lane. Peppa Pig has been pretty good for Black Rose coming in. That's a good newcomer. Um, Obviously, same old for up here. Nothing really changing all that much. Peppa Pig, though, making a strong case for WLBR to be a little bit more respected. Pizza Pasta Mafia making an MVP case from the top lane position so far. Raining Wolves as well, with all these games played and everything like that. These two, it's going to be very interesting to see who wins out of these two. I think it's definitely Pizza Pasta Mafia. Like the pool's just better, and it's kind of Raining Wolves is like nightmare kind of pool to deal with as a player because Raining is more of a tank player in my opinion, and Pizza Pasta Mafia is more of has a lot more diversity in his pool and things that just can just murder tanks. A lot of different things, and but I think their skill as top laners is pretty similar. I would just give it to Pizza Pasta just based off the champion picks alone. Um, but yeah, that is that. We don't have to see Momo in the top lane anymore. Thank God. Some jungle. Obviously, we have Synthetic taken over in the KDA department. Got the usual members. Yuji had a strong debut for WLA. Should be the starting jungler and the rest of their lineup for the rest of the season. They should be really good to deal with. Um, we got a lot of good junglers though fighting for it at the top. Not anything really cookie cut clear. I think there's a lot more competition in the jungle that's been brought in the last few weeks. That's really nice and can't be overlooked. And that's Yuji and Synthetic. So we'll see how they kind of finish up the season. You still have um, obviously the regular members that we had before that were obviously really strong. Myself, Bazansky, Rocky, Hoodie, was up there. Frost hasn't played many games though, so kind of hard to tell. Um, but yeah, moving on to the mid lane. Yeah, Liar's up here, but I don't even think he's close to the best mid laner. I've stated this in the banter chat multiple times. It's definitely Meng Hao. Cookie Nabber probably a close second, but like I said, haven't seen him play in a long time, and I think the Malbithus has made a really big jump and is the most important member of Black Rose. Obviously, having Momo switch to ADC has really helped them out and win the games. But Malbithus, no matter what the lineup is or what his matchup is, has always been solid. And the stats don't lie here. Definitely the most definitely the most useful and most valuable player for any team that's struggling in the bottom. Um, so it's nice to see an outlier here instead of it just being all winning teams and everything like that. You can even see the same about Saint. So we White Lotus has put together quite a bit of good mid laners all around. Cheesecake is somewhere in here as well, not playing horribly for how the team has been playing. So White Lotus, kind of mid lane university at the moment, in my opinion. All of them pretty solid and on the come up here. We'll see how this kind of shakes out, but I don't know. Not a fan of the KDA style of Liar, and I think Malbithus and Crayson and Buckby and all these other guys like Manghao and Cookie, like they're all just so much more impactful all the time. But we'll have to see if it changes. Kind of a small sample size with LG. This isn't even their full stats backed up or anything like that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Moving on to the EDC role. Yeah, we see Momo creeping up here, 7.3 KDA through those two series. Has been mostly playing exclusively Smolder as well. Don't know why teams are giving him that. He played really well in it last season. Traxon missed a week. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, they did put Kagran's. Okay, cool. But yeah, Traxon playing really well when he's been playing. Sorrow was playing well before. This only kind of struggled in this week. LG kind of played a really easier schedule, in my opinion, so far. So a team that needs to be proven a little bit more against a better team. They need to beat and compete against other teams a little bit more dominant than, you know, I think they beat like Blackthorn and like Bra or something. Like their wins aren't crazy. I think Rivals is their best win and a 2-1, which is meh. But yeah, great debut for a Lullaby of WoW, as we've seen. But yeah, that is the ADCs. Go down to support. Deco's been up here for a little bit, but obviously we haven't seen AIED play for a while. I'm pretty adamant that I like Romeo as the best support out of everybody. I think the support pool is pretty, honestly, not deep in this. There's not many supports that I like love and think super highly of out of everybody in here. So it's a really weird list, and when I get the player power ranking, it's going to be really hard to really kind of differentiate between a lot of these supports. So stay tuned for that. But I think Romeo and Astrid, above and beyond pretty much everybody else, you've got a few other, I mean, solid looking people. Obviously, like I like Dolo, Crockpot, Rexness, and Sauce. Like they've all had their good moments. Most of these sports have had them, but it's just not as dominating as last season's was. And Sinful Angar, ever since they've been added to Black Rose, has only been playing Sona and fairly weak bot lanes, but it's been working. I don't. It's a weird situation, but that is how things are shaking up through the first 4 or 5 weeks here, and this is my final little tier list for now, up to date. A lot of changes, a lot of up and coming. Should be fun and competitive for the rest of the season. I'm really excited to see how the rest of week 5 shakes up and week 6 getting kicked off. We got a lot of good matchups in week 6 to go through. Should be a good one right there. Should be a good one between two winless teams that really need a win. Wisteria and Calamity, big proving moment for both teams. Knights and Rat Tactics, two of the right now two of the best East teams that we have projected. Black Rose and Bra is closer than probably people think. Probably not, but Black Rose should win this. Azale and Rat Tactics Paradox Haze could get spicy. Korean Rejects and Allen Dynasty probably goes to Dynasty. Rivals and Oasis probably goes to Oasis, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's a 3 game series. And then JRGC and LG probably a potential 3 game series. Two teams that coming off pretty convincingly bad losses, I would say, both needing that kind of tune up to get back into it. So, pretty important week for both teams. And then TDP and Coach's Tyranny, obviously, I think is the um, game of the week without a doubt. Two undefeated teams obviously have dropped some series, like or some games in the series, but regardless, should be pretty nice to watch. And then you got Forge and CKK on bye weeks. So yeah, that's gonna do it. Went a little faster this time around. There was a ton of games to really look at. I still have to do player power rankings, so sorry if this one wasn't too much in depth or anything like that, or just kind of wanted to give my thoughts and recap the league up to date. So have a good one, guys, and take it easy. Good luck on the rest of the season.